Run.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. If you please stand for prayer. We'll start. We come to you today with the deep hearts and emotions. We ask that you bless us, make sound judgments, sound wisdom. We ask that you continue to bless our country with a little bit of rain as you see fit. We're grateful for that. And Father, we ask you to continue to bless our first responders and police officers and our Army families, our military families, wherever they may be, that are protecting and fighting for our freedoms. Allow us to sit here today to do this court. Father, I ask those that are sick or ailing that you put a hand around them and guide them and help bless them. See fit to how you see. Father, again, just thank you for the opportunities. Thank you for allowing us to come together. Safe travels for those who came over today to help to us. Be with us today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order, 4:07. Establishment quorum. We have a full commission present today. The city of Savannah, city of Valley, and Valley County, King County, everyone being present. So they'll take care of item number 1. Item number 2, discuss action item, then invite other governmental units within the region 24. That is Middle River Grande Development Council will join and our 391 commission this afternoon. There's no one here today to join. Public comments. We do have some public comments. We go through them kind of informally as we go along. It's not cut and dry. Ms. Brown signed up to speak, and also Mr. Brown. Items number 3 or item number 9. So, public comments. Do you want to address item number 3 right now, or do you want to wait till we get to item number 9?
I guess I just wanted to clarify for number 9.
Step on up to that. That way they can hear you. I have trouble with my Zoom camera, so I can use the laptop here.
Just a clarification. For number 9, we can open that up to public comments here, or are the public comments for the future workshop that is planned?
No, we'll have public comments today too.
Okay.
Our plan is to have like a workshop to where we can all interact and talk and itemize buckets of things and concerns that we want to address because of 391 versus you as a private intervener, us as a 391. But that's our plan. I would like to hopefully have about 3 workshops in the near future and host maybe in 7 now if American have one. Not we'll be back in New Valley, maybe one over here in the evening, one during the day, one to do it.
Okay, so maybe it would be more appropriate for our comments during
Number 9. Okay, we good.
Let's keep all the Howard-Solstice stuff
Together. Yes, sir. We do. All right. All right. The item number 4 is approval of the updated bylaws that were adopted between the third changes on April 23rd. And those bylaw changes were page 6. Page 6. And the bylaw changes were, as we discussed, approved it with the top of page 6 there, section 5 under article 6, I believe it was.
7.
It's on article 6. Yeah, 6. I just wanted to step
Oh, that's right.
All right, the monetary policy for us was the policy that our commission was to not accept, expend, or receive any gifts or funds of any nature, nor open accounts for checks, drafts, or orders for payment of money, notes, or other efforts of indebtedness. So I'll entertain the motion to approve those. Well, we approved them subject to those changes. So today, there's going to be signatures for us noted in the minutes we approved those, pending those changes as read there. So we'll hand those bylaws around. Need the signatures for everybody. Item 5 is discuss an action with possible appointment of certain administrative assistants and advisors who are willing to assist. At this time, we've appointed Representative McLaughlin to serve on the committee as a non-voting member, and Byfield also at this time, and then of course Brent Smith for legal counsel. So that's where we're at today. Those are our only appointments of certain administrative assistants and advisors today. So, no other any discussion or action or anything to talk about there or not. All right. The citizen, a non-member, a citizen member to serve as a voting member of the commission and qualifications. Talked about this a little bit at the last meeting. This person would need to be someone who is represent either county or either city kind of deal, but serve on the commission, actually have a vote on the commission and everything. But there would have to be somebody that did not file as an intervener, so forth, to protect the integrity of our commission, so forth. So, if you got anybody, any ideas there, or anything yet, we can do that to executive session and talk about, if that's what you want to do today. Somebody else. I haven't come up with anybody, so.
Mr. Chairman, I think we discussed last time, maybe somebody they can advise the service, do some of these workshops. After we hear, some people have to say, and maybe somebody who feel like, might have some evidence or something against all this, and fair represent the guy who came to the room. My memory correct?
Yeah.
You thought maybe somebody who won't really, maybe prepared to do something.
It doesn't look like we got the minutes in here that we get to, so we'll move on to the next agenda, next meeting. Item 7, the resolution. Adopt and discuss, take action on the adopt of the revised resolution of Howard-Solstice transmission line project. And that was sent out to y'all to review. I can read it again, or if everybody's okay with the changes that were made to it. And to review.
Yeah, that was what I was saying. The council, the committee here to consider the changes, and I think we have a much more defensible resolution, and it still, I think it covers all the points that we regularly make. I appreciate the consideration.
Thanks for your input. I'll read the resolution. Texas Board of Subregional Planning Commission of Valley County, King County, City of Valley, 67 out, resolution 1-2026. Whereas on March 2nd, 2026, AEP Texas and CPS filed an application for certificate of convenience and necessity for the Howard-Solstice transmission line with the Public Utility Commission of Texas formally initiated stage review process. And whereas the application designates alternative route 4 as the applicant's preferred route, thereby subjecting private property owners throughout the boundaries of the Texas Board of Subregional Planning Commission to involuntary land acquisition, condemnation of property, and substantial property value losses. And whereas the need for safe and efficient production of electricity across our state is not disputed. And whereas prior to granting an application for certificate of convenience and necessity, the Texas Utilities Code requires that the commission consider multiple factors, including but not limited to community values, recreation and park areas, historical and aesthetic values, and environmental integrity. And whereas the Howard-Solstice transmission line poses substantial risk to residents, businesses, and the environment within the subregion due to issues such as property value increasing, environmental harm, electrical and magnetic field exposure, and to the destruction of scenic areas. And whereas residents within the Texas Board Subregional Planning Commission have voiced significant concerns about the negative impacts of the alternative route 4 of the Howard-Solstice transmission project. And whereas the TBSRPC is dedicated to protecting the citizens' interests in sub-regions' long-term economic health and quality of life. Now, for very resolved to proceed statements are hereby adopted as true and reflect the position of the TBSRPC, and the TBSRPC formally opposes any proposed routes for the Howard-Solstice transmission line project within the boundaries, including particularly alternative route 4, that this resolution to take effect immediately at the opponent's adoption. Passed and adopted May 11, 2026. That's about the resolution reads now. So I'll entertain a motion to
Sure, no,
okay.
pass the resolution. Was fine.
Have the motion laid by Mr. Postman and second by Mr. Mims. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Resolution carried unanimously. I'll hand this around for signatures. Item number 8, discussion and action, discussion adoption of possible plans, policies, and strategies regarding Howard-Solstice transmission line project. All right, on this one, this is where we're kind of gonna, let the byfields kind of help us steer stuff a little bit. We won't get too far into the weeds yet on our policies and our plans. We kind of work with our upcoming workshops and so forth, public discussion, public comments and so forth. So it's kind of need to kind of come to the table and talk and have discussions. We don't want to have too much out in public, our strategy or our plan and stuff, to give them the chance to counter pose and kind of be prepared for us to we propose and meet with them and so forth. So with that, I'll turn it over to anybody, any of the commissioners or Mr. Byfield or Representative Johnson.
Give a second. Can't hear you.
I could jump in if you would. Dan is not feeling great, so
Yes.
I'll try to tell you what he's probably when I started. So I think really just a little bit of direction. I'm sure you guys have covered this. First, appreciate you guys saying that tonight. This is one of the most important things you guys can do to protect your communities. So very pleased to see you guys take this step. Of course, you actually reviving and restoring. Yeah, it's nice to see you back in the meeting. The upcoming workshops, I think, are really going to be where you be able to drill down and get the impacts to this community that the transmission line will cause that are not being considered by utility companies. So they will have an application and environmental assessment where they do basically 50,000 viewpoint of potential impacts. And a lot of times what that means is that it's what they can find online. It goes into the report. And that typically misses a lot of the actual impacts on the ground. And so the workshops you have coming up, I think are going to be so valuable because you'll have landowners that can come in and tell you about things, direct impacts to them that have not been considered. And a lot of the purpose of the upcoming meetings with the transmission companies is to make them aware of these, because right now they don't know about them. And so that's really in your workshops. I think you should give those impacts that come forward, you're going to be able to help really flesh out your policy. There are other policies from others United ones that you can look at. The ERAS Centerville policy is pretty deep with a number of impacts which is helpful. It might be worth circulating to the landowners so they can kind of see the things that you may be looking for as you put this together. But ultimately, that's really the purpose, I think, of your workshops and the development of policies. Just, to kind of set the stage a little bit as to what coordination can do. And the purpose of the policy is that the utility companies and state agencies are required to coordinate with your plans and policies, not what we think is in our head. So it's really important that those things be put on paper and adopted by the commission to lay that out. But ultimately, that policy is you taking the position of what your community needs. So if that means that the transmission line is just not compatible in anywhere through your jurisdiction, you certainly should say that in your policy. But you also need to be backing that as to why it is, and that's where a lot of the community accounts do.
Mark, this is Brent. Can you give us a quick synopsis on the 391 commission you had with U.S. Fish and Wildlife in Erath County? I watched it and I think it's a good example of how these work.
Okay, so we had the first coordination meeting with Fish and Wildlife Service in Steubenville, the U.S. Hill Subdivision Planning Commission. That was a couple weeks ago. That we knew that was going to be a really good meeting just to gather information. So in other words, they don't have direct, they're not building the line, Fish and Wildlife Service isn't, but they do have a federal permitting responsibility. And this is one of the things that we recognized early, that the transmission company building that third line is on board. And as we were doing our due diligence, we found that Encore does not have the proper permitting in place for under the Endangered Species Act. Meaning they had a take permit that was issued to them by the Fish and Wildlife Service in 2012, which covers them for 11 species. But there are several more species in their own EA list, about 17 species that could be impacted, which are not covered by their permit. So in that situation, what the utility company should be doing is amending their take permit to Fish and Wildlife Service so that if they do get this CCN authorized, they're ready to go. They have the proper federal permitting so that they can condemn property and put poles in the ground. So what's interesting about this is that they haven't tried to amend that permit. And that's what I think was really one of the main reasons why it's really important to hear directly from Fish and Wildlife Service as to what their responsibilities are in the community and what the Fish and Wildlife Service's responsibilities should be in this. And so it's a very good conversation. There are a couple of good things that we learned from the meeting. One of which I think is probably the most maybe not unexpected but shocking is that the Fish and Wildlife Service representatives that came out of the Fort Worth office, so that's the office that we have jurisdiction over that line, said that their first notice of this 765 line going through their jurisdiction, the jurisdiction they regulate, was when they received a letter from the judge inviting them to the 391 commission meeting. In other words, Encore has not been reaching out to that office to make sure they're doing their due diligence. And so that was pretty revealing. And that's one reason why it was a really important meeting to have. The other thing that came out of that was that they made it very clear that it's up to the utility company to basically self-regulate. So if they take a species, they have to report it. And so it's probably going to, that's what he said. So we're already kind of seeing this pattern where Encore is doing that line anyway. They're doing everything to check off the boxes. But the question is that true due diligence? And is it being done in a way that actually is considerate and the impacts to the community? And so what we're finding there through these meetings is that they should be doing an awful lot. They should be doing much more in that community to prepare for this line than they have so far. And so does that answer your question, Brett? What you?
Yeah, that's exactly. I thought it was a very good meeting. The part was a little difficult to understand, but when we get the gist of it, was they were being blindsided about this entire project, which does not go well for U.S. Fish and Wildlife. I've also seen that several legislators have sent letters to Public Utilities Commission, I believe, pointing them to Austin to slow down the process.
They sent a reason over around about 5, there's another one that should have followed that up about 35, 40.
What can you tell us about that, Don?
Do what?
What else can you tell us about the letter? Are they just requesting a meeting exactly, or what?
Well, I mean, the letter that is out there, it's just asking the public, the commission to pause this and slow down. Because this, I don't think this was the intent of the legislature. And if they're pushing through properties without due diligence and so forth, so I believe that that's gonna be a push that pretty much everybody voted for this, that the 87th legislation is backpedaling on the vote down when I just in the chatter that's going on.
That's interesting.
That's really good. And the other thing that was in that letter is they did ask for a meeting with PUC and just scorecard, you probably are watching the videos, the evidence that pretty good series, they're following such closely. And so they had a comment from PUC on that request. PUC stands as well since it's in litigation that they have. So that's actually one reason why, the original request that the LKD was not to intervene, so that it would not prevent them from having to come to the table with you. I think it was pretty smart. We're seeing that play out as we expected it to.
We do have a coordination meeting with quorum and what for the
We do. So that's going to be really important because that's going to be the first time that Encore has, had to come forward and answer, the questions of the body, just like yours, the electoral was weighted. So that's going to be important.
That 27th, again, that's for the ERAF Centerville.
Yes.
Yes. And if it's live stream, I would recommend you watching it. I think it'll be a really important meeting, just to give y'all an idea of the coordination is about and what they're trying to raise the A and B and CPS. We have to look to see if they've got finances in place.
Yeah, I just might have to take it to.
Well, I know that.
Since we're not at the meeting yet, it hasn't been on the top.
Representative Laughlin, the letter that was sent out, does that obligate the PUC to have a meeting or just suggest that y'all won't have a meeting?
Yes, I don't know that, I mean, it's in their best interest to meet with us since we regulate what they'll do, they're appointed by the government. But whether they will or not, that could fall either way. I mean, some of these people think that they don't actually need anybody but themselves in the government, so it'll be interesting to see. But I would think it would behoove them to have the meeting, at least hear people out. I agree.
That letter is very important. That's been the strongest, most organized pushback from our legislative body to date has been that letter.
Yeah, and I think that, everybody's concerned about it, but like I said, when they started this deal about the permission, 765 is what we were talking about. And of course, off the record, both Darby and Charlie Garrett both said, oh no, that wasn't our intent to do, they won't make a statement publicly about that. But didn't Darby sign that letter? He did. No. He did, but he won't make a public statement that wasn't the case. Because West Riddell done a pretty good job to put both of them on the spot, but they won't sign or won't come out. Let's wish.
Okay. Well, then that kind of like, a clean up how to make it for us, there's really no action on us. We're getting a feet on the ground, going forward with it and stuff, and everything.
So what do we need to have some policies established after one workshop, 2 workshops, or what's the suggestion? What do we think is a commission at? The sooner I think we get the policies and everything established, the better it is. We don't want to be, I don't know, we won't be too fast.
Right.
I think what would make sense is to, you do your first workshop, put together your resolution and policy, And then, at your next regular commission meeting, you can show that to the public where you are in the policy, ask them additional feedback. And, give them a couple more weeks to add to it, but you really could pull this together pretty quickly. I don't know, I mean, I love the idea of having the meetings in different locations so you get more involvement. But the other thing to remember about this is, it's a living document. So you can continue to add to it. So as issues come up, you can continue to add to this document. So I think if you get kind of your core key issues and the most pressing in your community in that first document and define what your position is on them, then I would recommend, it's time to make the invite to the companies to come in and have that discussion. And then you can continue to add to that as more issues come up. But to give you an idea of ERAS Somerville, some of the issues that they have been dealing with are things such as the head of the water district came in and provided a lot of information about a number of the wells, the older wells in the area, need to be applied to that or not. They're not anywhere in on-course maps. So that could be causing some real problems, food contaminating the water and other things, flags to the wells that they aren't even aware of right now because it's not on the map. So those kind of things need to be taken into account. There's also, there's the lady in charge of historical cemeteries in the area came in, and she has charted all of the cemeteries in the area. And I think about somewhere between 80–90% of them are not course maps. So they're not even considering those in routing. And those are the kind of things that are really important. And another really key issue in that area is that there is a lot of organic farming, dairy, and beef cattle. That's in there. And so the certifications for those operations are very intensive. And your community, your business leaders have spent a lot of money to get those operations put in place and then to get certified. Well, if you have 200-foot right of way going through their property that can have absolutely no vegetation, that means they're using the kind of herbicides that will negate their organic certification. So the financial impact to those businesses is devastating. I mean, they are going to destroy those businesses, but they're only going to pay for the 200-foot right of way. So those are all the kind of issues that you all can bring up in your meetings to make sure that they are taking those into account, and that they properly consider those. And it's a good cause for you guys to take a position with your husband. So those are just a few of the things. Also, endangered species are always very important because they have to be taken into account, and it does trigger the federal oversight with the Fish and Wildlife Service in the whole permitting process. So those are just a few of the things that you might hope for which your community thinking about the local greenhouse base.
In that regard, could you all provide us with some of the policies and plans and strategies that are already out there with other commissions so that we can kind of get our arms around this and focus on something? No, right now, I have nothing to focus on.
Yeah, Margaret, I'm just asking around policy for Somerville ERAF. I have it in PDF. Is there any way I can hold the Word document on that PDF?
We should, Jan, you know the answer to that. We should have a good Word document.
Yeah, I thought I'd sent that to you, just to give you an example.
I don't think we got it in PDF. I don't think.
Yeah, I think we have it in PDF. I was just curious if there's a Word document version.
I thought it should have been Word. I'll look at it. Give you the TR.
Yeah, that's very specific.
Yeah, we've heard from that.
Yes.
And I'm sure he has it in Word doc. That shouldn't be a problem.
It's got a lot of. And they like Ms. Buffett said, they.
Yeah, but
It's
you're
got
right.
added
It's
to
always
it,
nice to
they
have,
just added to it as a living
on paper,
document.
but it's done. You might not have the same issues. It'll help you kind of focus in on what's key.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, something like this would give us a great start.
Okay.
Brett, can we get an electronic copy of this?
Yeah, I'll send out the PDF, yeah.
Okay.
And then when if I get the Word, I'll.
There's a lot of detail in there.
Yes. All right. Let's kind of combine and kind of settle just a little bit with number 8, but let's talk about number 9. Okay, we got a couple of people that signed up to speak in public comment and stuff, so forth and whatnot. And like I say, we're just getting started revamping our 391 that Judge Shanahan, Sheriff Coe, and Brent, Mr. Smith started back when the border issue was so bad. So we had ours established. We're just retweaking it now to address the transmission line and so forth as we go forth from here. But the 4 of us sit up here is brand new to this and stuff. So, but we understand the concerns and everything and the frustrations. But I'll be more than happy to turn it over and y'all, Mr. Brown, y'all can visit with us a little bit and share kind of some things that you might share with the public at a workshop as well, as far as items of concern or address. Now, remember, our stance for 391 is our initial stance is to stop it, period. If we can't stop it, did we do everything possible? Did companies do everything possible before they just basically destroyed your private property? You're fighting it as an intervener, as a private. We're fighting it as a 391 government to government. So that's why it was very important early on. Mr. Byfield was visiting with me and stuff, and Brent, about serving on the commission and not being an intervener to jeopardize, because then they consider that double
Ex parte.
double jeopardy kind of deal. As y'all fight it this route, as a landowner, as a private, individual there through the legal system, we're fighting it through what statutes have allowed us to fight it through, or call people to the table and say, hey, here's how we want some help and some questions here and stuff. But to develop our policies and procedures and things like we would address. My concern is, like Ms. Byfield addressed, was the environmental assessment. And that's just a real quick, like, we didn't get down into the layers of the onion to where we could smell the garlic to really know what's this going to do to us long term down the road. This, because they talk about how dirty the line is and so forth and everything. And then the frustrating part is Representative McLaughlin shared was whether this line wasn't really ever addressed when they passed this legislation 2 sessions ago about this big of a line and so forth. But I'll kind of let that lead us into Ms. Brown's. They've signed up to speak on public comment or number 9 and so forth. So we'll kind of let y'all kind of ask us questions or state your facts and so forth. Okay. I would love to have that given to me, or emailed to me. Okay.
We'll give it to you after I finish.
Ms. Brown.
I want to read it first.
Yes, ma'am. We'll go to that microphone.
Yes, sir.
Addressing the commission now, for Representative McLaughlin and the Byfields. This is Mrs. Brown, Jima Brown. They have a ranch in Kinney County, that the line will traverse across the southern portion, I would say. That kind of the southern portion of what you would, okay, all right, take off.
All right, I'd like to comment on what I believe is one of the biggest unanswered questions surrounding these proposed 365 kV transmission lines. We keep hearing that these projects are necessary because of Texas power demand. But according to sworn testimony from ERCOT CEO Pablo Vasquez, before the Texas House State Affairs Commission, approximately 87% of the large load demand currently in the ERCOT queue comes from data centers. That matters because the same companies driving that demand also help push the policy decisions behind these transmission projects. Companies organized through CEBA, the Corporate Energy Buyers Association, and its Texas chapter, TBA, publicly advocated for the 765 kV transmission in Texas. TBA's own filings state that it represents more than 260 companies and over $20 trillion in market capitalization. The member companies include names like Google, Amazon, Meta, and ExxonMobil. Then something very interesting happened. TBA and Google paid Siemens PTI to produce a cost benefit study recommended the 765 kV transmission over 345 kV transmission. That study was filed with the Public Utility Commission just days before the commission voted on the statewide 765 kV build out. Then Google itself filed a letter urging the commission to move forward with ERCOT's 765 kV proposal. 2 days later, the commission approved it. That approval created what is now at least a $33 billion transmission program across Texas. Hundreds and hundreds of miles of new transmission corridors crossing ranch land, private property, and rural communities. Now, here's the part that I think ordinary Texans need to understand. Google wrote in its filing that Google and other customers will bear the cost of the transmission build-out. But that is not really how it works in practice. The costs are socialized through the transmission cost recovery and rate setting process, which means the bill ultimately gets spread across Texas ratepayers, Texas families, Texas businesses, and ordinary electric customers. So the companies creating the demand funded the studies, advocated for the policy, supported the transmission proposal, and then the cost got pushed into the public. This is not speculation. That is documentation in public filings, public testimony, and the company's own statements. And I think policymakers need to start asking harder questions about who is truly benefiting from these projects, who is assuming the burdens, and whether rural Texas is being asked to absorb enormous long-term impacts for infrastructure primarily being driven by hyperscale data center demand. I have citations for all filings and testimony referenced here, and they will be included with the written version of my statement for the commission's records. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
You didn't tell me, did you? It was supposed to be 3 minutes.
254.
Oh, I did it. So I did.
I wasn't gonna like slam on the brakes today for you, but I was like, we're
No,
learning, we're learning.
No,
Now,
I knew I had a time limit.
now, you practice,
I practiced. I talk fast anyway, though, don't you know? But I hope you understood me. I hope I didn't talk too fast.
part of your data that you shared with us and so forth. But as far as like a policy for us to work towards that's gonna cover, where we would want to talk to Parks and Wildlife, ERCOT, some other state, TxDOT, folks like that. Think about that as we get ready to set workshop and stuff. Do a little more study, visit or whatever, and say, hey, here's 3 things that we feel like we need more answers to, that you may not be getting through your engineering status, but drill this down a little bit where there's not quite so many bullet points, and I'll give you my email address, and you can just email them to me or something or whatever to help us coordinate our policies and our plan, our strategy. Okay, yeah, we don't like the idea that it wasn't shared at 765 till the last minute. At the 13th hour, it got passed at 765. That was not clarified, stuff like that. And the long-term effects of this one, that's what we don't know. Okay.
And then, I have a great grandson that's going to be driving underneath that dang line if it's on our plate.
It may be playing.
It may be killing him. No, I'm sorry.
No.
I believe it's lethal.
Okay.
I truly believe it's lethal. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Thank you, Ms. Brown. And then I'll scan this and share this with y'all. Like I say, I'll scan this and share this with the commission and so forth and stuff. But anybody that's like, you want to come and address the commission, but you also would like to write it down, man, I would greatly appreciate that. Greatly appreciate that. But I'll turn it over to Mr. Brown now. All right, for those that are on this is Scott Brown. He's one of Mrs. Brown's son. It's his family, one of their family places that the line is, the proposed route is actually on it. They have a blue line, but they also have the red line. So they're not just speaking as a blue line could be. They are within this recommended alternative route 4. So Scott, I'll turn it over to you.
I live in Uvalde County and there are 4 proposed Howard-Solstice links crossing or immediately adjacent to my ranch in Kenny County. We are now deep into the SOA evidentiary process. By June 1st, all remaining input that can become part of the official hearing record will be complete. But I believe this commission may still serve an important purpose if it helps elevate concerns to legislators, the governor, agencies, and policymakers who may not fully understand the scale of what is being proposed. Because I think there's a much larger issue here than most people realize. Recently, I reviewed a filing from another proposed 765 kilovolt transmission project in Minnesota. It was submitted by a retired cardiac electrophysiologist, a cardiologist who specializes in the electrical systems of the heart and the effects of electrical systems on the human body. He argued that potential impacts from 765 kilovolt infrastructure should be evaluated out to approximately 1.5 miles. That made me ask a simple question. Are the standards Texas is using for 765 kV transmission lines actually designed for 765 kilovolt transmission lines? Because under PURA section 37.056 and PUC rule 25.101, Texas largely evaluates all transmission lines above 230 kilovolts under the same regulatory framework, which means that in practice, existing 345 kilovolt lines and proposed 765 kilovolt lines are being evaluated under essentially the same structure. And that framework dates back to the mid-1990s. Think about that for a second. Texas has never built a 765 kilovolt transmission line before. During the dinosaur to longshore hearing, an intervener asked Encore's panel of experts whether anyone on the panel had ever worked on the routing, planning, modeling, or construction of a 765 kV transmission line outside of the current Permian Basin projects. Every person on the panel answered no. Yet Texas is still applying the same overarching framework already used for existing 345 kilovolt infrastructure across the state. Meanwhile, experts in other proceedings are arguing that potential impacts from 765 kilovolt infrastructure should be at least studied out to distances measured in miles, not hundreds of feet. And I think that is a real policy issue. Has Texas actually updated its statutes, regulations, and guidance to specifically address infrastructure at this scale? Or are we trying to fit an entirely new class of infrastructure into a framework written decades ago for a very different transmission environment? Because that is not just a local issue, that's a statewide policy issue. Thank you.
Have a copy of that, Brian, please?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, okay, like the point you making here, of like the evaluation of a line of greater than 230, the evaluation, if we're still using the same structure, if we're evaluating a 230 kilovolts versus a 765 kilovolt. That to me is very concerning. Very concerning.
Texas has 2 buckets, less than or greater than 230.
Okay.
You know, if there's any states that have multiple buckets, have a standard for 765?
I do not.
Was you actually?
I was wondering if there's any information out there, if there's any other states that go beyond that 230 and have more stringent regulations on the 765. Some of these states that have had 765 put in there, do they have some guidance?
I don't think there's but 2, North Carolina, Oregon have 765 as of today in the US. I may be wrong, but that's, when they started, there were only 2.
You said Florida, North Carolina representative, or which states?
Oregon.
Florida has 365, I don't know if they have 765.
What were the states you said?
Florida, North Carolina, either Washington State or Oregon are the only 2 places when they started, they had 60 miles per hour, so I may be wrong. But I feel so make me know that that's high.
Bring up a good point, maybe if there's some of these other states that have some, there might have been some work and they did some homework for us, and we have tougher regulations.
Okay.
Can I
Yes, sir.
bring up one point that this kind of led me to? I'm not suggesting that they need to start creating rights of way that are 500 feet wide, because then you're condemning more property. To be clear, I'm not in favor of condemning more property because these lines are bigger. But in the routing planning, distances to habitable structures, distances to schools, distances to water sources. I'm just suggesting that more research be done on the effects of the line farther out than the current study zone, which is about 500 feet.
Okay.
Byfield, do you have a comment, Mr. Byfield?
Well, and I would say that, to put that in a policy statement, which if this is a position that the commission takes, there is nothing that prevents this commission from saying that these lines cannot be within 1.5 miles of habitable structure. That can be in your policy, and you can base it on this testimony from the cardiologist. We have that testimony sent in to us by another member, and so I have looked at it. And it's pretty frightening what he's saying in there. And he's a cardiologist. So anyway, I think you all should look at that closely, but there's no reason why you can't have that as one of your policies based on, because your purpose is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the people.
I think alternative route number 4 comes within 500 feet of 67 homes, is that correct? Was one of the testimonies of the SO.
That's close, but it also didn't take into account 7 of our homes. So
Interesting. They missed
it is not accurate. And person A created that data, person B relied on that data, and it just keeps going up the chain, and nobody's willing to take
I
ownership.
checked what.
Nobody's willing to take ownership of the underlying inaccurate or incomplete data.
Okay.
The CBS people are gonna come back at you, saying they have studies to offset those bills. So we told John School around the meeting when we had a meeting in the valley.
The offset the cardiology stuff there, Representative Rob.
Yeah, the cardiologists and the harm of the deals, they say they've got experts. You didn't elaborate that much, Dan, because we've got plenty of experts who will dispute that.
I would be happy to suggest that they take that and review it and explain to you why it's not credible.
I agree. I think it's a valid point to put this in there.
And then put it back on them. If that's their position, if they don't find it credible, then they need to explain to this commission why it's not credible. It can't just be because they say so. This is what's great about coordination, is they have to have a legitimate reason to oppose that position. And so that's not untypical. That's what the kind of response you're going to get, is they're just going to say, hey, we've got our experts say the opposite. And then they think that's going to be the end of the story. Well, they can prove it. They can take that position of the cardiologist and have them ask them to have one of their experts explain why the cardiologist is wrong.
And I have that report. I think it was like 27 pages, so I didn't print it out for you guys today. I would be happy to submit it by email to whoever would like it.
Okay. Give it me, I'll get you my county email, get it to me.
Yes, sir.
I can forward it to the commission here and everything.
Yes, sir.
All right, good discussion. That's why, that's like, we're kind of like getting things going here and what, and some facts that we can like get addressed or put in our policies and work on as we go forward here. We're not on a timeline like y'all are as interveners. So y'all got dates, y'all had to meet and stuff like that. Ours is a little bit more lenient as far as asking for these and stuff. So that's why, in the next week or two, we'll have our workshops. Be working on our policies as we're going. And I'm calling them workshops. That way we can kind of like, we won't take any action as a commission, but we can interact and visit, make some notes and things like that and so forth and stuff. But, that's my plan on how this commission would work to help slow it down. Ultimately, they yes, to stop it, but all we're gonna do if we stop it here is we pissed off somebody else somewhere else. Because right now, this thing of having 77 alternative routes, to me, we're throwing darts at a balloon in a hurricane from about 20 yards away, and it's just, like you might still have a blue line, but if you didn't have a red line, you know, y'all are here today because y'all have, you and the Shans, y'all have a red line. Y'all are part of this red line. The rest of us, we might have had a blue line, but I wasn't, so, you know, if I didn't foresee to take and intervene or do something, protest and so forth, then I missed out on my opportunity, and here comes the line on me now, kind of deal. But that's the frustrating part of it.
And that was my goal to give, I understand the type of fight that y'all were able to do. And that was the goal in my testimony, was to give you ammunition that you can use with Governor Abbott or legislators or whomever to try to get their attention.
Yes, sir. Okay. Anybody else? Judge Shahan, you have anything that, you were part of the original 391, you kind of understand how this works and functions, but
This afternoon, I'm totally unprepared.
that's all right. But Judge Shahan's in the audience with us, Representative Laughlin in the Byfields. He's was a county judge before me, and he's the one that started our original 391 back in the day and stuff. Our county attorney, Brent Schmidt, and the sheriff's here as well, is also a sheriff. But folks, this is, I mean, as slow as government moves and as fast as this thing moving, it amazes me. It really does. But it's frustrating and so forth. But please share with us. Remove the emotions. That's the hardest thing that we're going to have to be able to do, is remove that emotional tie, the generational value and so forth. But come with us with those facts and those concerns of what you presented here, and we'll take note of that. I think about this all the time. And again, the commission, we need that public input. We're here. We're living it as well as y'all are and so forth. But even the absentee owners, some of those folks that have, they may not live on the farm or ranch anymore, but they still have it in the family and so forth. Hopefully they were informed well enough and stuff to do their part as well. But with that kind of wraps up 8 and 9, unless someone else like to address the commission this afternoon, not morning, but this afternoon. I'd like to get into that.
Judge,
Yes, ma'am.
can I just make one more comment? I didn't realize Sheriff Rose in the audience, and he's definitely a wealth of information for you. But I think in terms of the safety issue as well, we had come up in the ERAF area the fire damage or the fire issues. So when they are fighting fires, they are supposed to turn these lines off so that they can fire, or they can, fight the fire underneath them, go underneath them. And that rarely happens. And there's certain regulations where a fire truck has to be so far, a certain amount away from an active fire, an active transmission line. And so with the voltage of this line, it makes that even more prohibitive. So I'm going to explain it as well, because that's not my expertise, but do think about the safety issues, how this is going to impact emergency services as well.
Along that line, I've been thinking about, we got certain parts of the county that we have a hard enough time just trying to radio communicate, much less cell talk. And I'm concerned about if the deputies are on the other side of the transmission line and close enough to it. We're already in a rough area, a bad area where communications is little sketchy. What's that transmission line going to end up doing to our radio communications if we're in between our two talking points or our tower and so forth? So that's another concern that I've been thinking of. And our daughter lives in Lubbock, and she says sometimes she goes without electricity because they turn the transmission lines off because of the wind and everything. The fear of them breaking and falling down, or the line breaking and dropping to the ground and starting the fires and stuff. So that's another concern that I would have, especially where this is going and being considered to go across such a remote area and terrain for us. Yes, sir.
One little item.
Go ahead. No,
Today I talked to a man who has been on the PUC side and on the defense side. And he said that you need to emphasize that what this line is doing is dissecting ownership lands. We're split in two, and we've got two lines coming across our land. It's going to split our land, one by 20%, one by 30%. He said in y'all's position as you go forward, if you emphasize that these landowners, I don't know what it's going to do to the Browns property. I'm sure it's going to cut you in two or half or whatever. But he said to please emphasize that, is that it's not going down property lines. It's not going down an already existing right of way. It's going down and cutting up property more, and that there is a policy for the PUC that when they come in and put a line in, their main aim is to stay along the property line. Okay.
I think it might be very important for us to be plugged into Austin as well, meaning the legislature. I've stated this from the beginning. Our goal was to stop it by slowing this down enough for support to mount in Austin to where they put a stop to it legislatively. And I think it's important when something happens in Austin that we need to be there, or we need to be plugged into that we for sure do that. Because that's our end goal, is also to stop it.
The key to get that, whatever hearings you have, as many people as you can, that's what's going to get their attention. Problem is that most of these big cities are the ones that are going to benefit from this, being told they're going to benefit from these lines. And if you take those big cities, right now, they fight amongst each other a lot, so they don't come together. But if they come together, they outvote the rule. They have more votes than we do. But I mean, the more that any hearings or anything, the more people we can get there, that's going to matter. Even if they have even if the legislature interim studies that has the hearing, more people we can get there about one of the questions about all.
yeah, going forward, that's going to be the sad part for us, is the tail wagging the dog is going to be that Fort Worth to Austin, San Antonio, Houston, back to Dallas. That core of Texas, we're just, it's going to be rough for us as a rural America, rural Texans, to compete with those. We have one representative, they have 7 per county or something.
Margaret, is there any studies being done on the solutions to this? We're against the lines, but it's better if we come with an alternative solution on local production of energy in Permian Basin. Is there any, like the TPPF or anyone else have any proposed solutions that we can come in hand with?
Yeah, TBSRPC is working on some really good stuff that I think we'll see released before the end of this month. And it's really exactly what you said, that what they're finding is that the best solution is to build local dispatchable generation. And then you build out the necessary local, potentially regional transmission lines you might need, but you don't need to be building long extension cords. That's actually the extensive way of getting this done. It does the most harm, destroys the most property. And so I think we're gonna see all of that information starting to come out here by the end of the month. That's really going to position you guys, put you guys in a very good position to also make that part of the that, you know, for you to be for something, you are for local dispatchable generation, because that makes the most sense for Texas. That makes the most sense for your jurisdiction. And it actually will solve any, you know, grid problems that ERCOT foresees. So I think that's a very solid position to be behind.
For some reason, I think that's what I'm saying.
No, no, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, for some reason, that's what I mentioned when we were in session, is why are we talking about doing something like this, when we ought to be building plants in areas that do it? Their answer back to me is, we build all the plants, but we still have the lines to take the power, which I disagree with. But that's the answer you're gonna get back with. That's what you're going to get anyway. You ain't here.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you're be proved out to be right about that. With some of the studies coming, so. That's pretty good. No, I feel pretty confident that we're gonna see that. The other thing I want to address too, is something that the representative mentioned, but I think it's really important, and that is how the cities can outvote the rural communities. But the argument that I think we can use, that we ought to make as, we ought to educate the constituents with in the populated areas is that they are going to pay for this. Their bills are going to go up for these long extended courts. And so that if we can get that message across to those in the cities of how much their energy costs are going to go up, not to get better energy, but all they're going to get out of the required energy bills, then that may be a really good way that we can pressure those elected leaders to come alongside Representative McLaughlin and the others who are fighting this.
Well, I've heard you, maybe you know, but I've heard you mention $100 per house, so if we will be fine, it's because they're gonna.
Yeah, and that's a chief PPF calculation. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I was just wanting to add to your communication problem. What about these airplanes that are these pilots training up there? They're lower than a mile and a half. They get caught up with no radio, they're gonna be in big trouble without airplane crash. I wonder what the Navy would say about that.
Okay. The training flight patterns that the Air Force is using around the county.
That is a policy that you read in some of the lands also.
Okay. Yes.
Related to airplanes is so many landowners in Uvalde and Kinney counties use helicopters in their day-to-day operation for aerial surveys, wildlife surveys, rounding up cattle, keeping track of where exotic animals are. And there was testimony in the Dinosaur to Longshore hearing about that.
Crop dusting is.
Yes, sir. It's the point of the expert, who happened to be Dusty Holt, was yes, he can still do his job, but it's going to cost the landowner a lot more because he's going to have to be much more careful. And he's dealing with, you know, rapid elevation, directional changes, and it just stifles his ability to do his job. And I'm sure many other landowners also use helicopters in their operations.
Okay. Anything else? We're on, kind of blended in items 8, 9, and 10 here, other items necessary and discussion items and so forth. But, if no other comments right now, I'd address that, for the commission to look at your calendars. And let's see, we would like to post our workshops with the same rules and guidance as we would post our meetings like today, with the 3-day notice and so forth like that, so that we can, if all of us can attend the workshop, please do so. If you miss one, that's fine. but there wouldn't be any action items per se of the workshop. It'd just simply be open dialogue like this, to where folks can come and share some facts or provide information and so forth to us to help work and create a policy going forward and so forth, and to continue to work on and so forth. But if you look calendar wise,
Chairman and other commissioners, does this time work good for y'all in the evenings? Is it?
I would, I'm gonna be very open. I'm whatever for me because of the position I'm in as the judge. But I would think if we had one during the day, if we could maybe have one in the evening somewhere where those folks that, are driving in or from out of town or something like that, they could come and share. But by all means, if they just have comments or concerns, they'd like to email us. If you're a Uvalde resident, I ask that you reach out to one of y'all three from Uvalde area. If it's a Kenny County resident or Kenny County landowner and stuff, reach out, send that information to me. Those kind of like the Browns provided the day for us and so forth. But no,
With Medina County either, or is it just because we're connected? I have property in Medina County, Uvalde, and Kinney, so I'm 3 counties.
Medina County's not in our cog. The 391 subcommission had this, so Medina County is part of that San Antonio cog. So no, ma'am, you can still provide information to the Uvalde and Kenny County folks, just as if you would provide it for Medina County. I don't believe there's a 391 over there that I'm aware of. And so forth.
Are they able to do it or just?
Yes, ma'am, they're able, yes, ma'am, they would be able to do it, yes, ma'am. For us, Riall County was interested in joining the COG for us, but they filed as an intervener. So because of that status, because of the airport they have, the county actually owns the airport up there in Riall County. Valverde County filed as an intervener on behalf of Lawson Air Force Base because of the flights and the planes and stuff. So I don't know where the commission throws them out as an intervener status for not having actually be a landowner. I mean, they're looking for anything and everything to pull those interveners out, and they're really looking at us harder than over there on that side, y'all's side of that page, than they are for us, trying to get us out of the system, trying to get us where they don't have to come to us and meet with us.
There's a meeting happening tomorrow, I think, in Divine.
There's a meeting tomorrow in Divine.
Brendan Herrera, there's some meeting, because they're getting the data and thing there, and they're talking about this also. I think it's tomorrow. I have it, I just gotta look it up. But
Okay.
it's, I think tomorrow at 6:30. Divine, yes.
I saw that. It's a campaign of it, right? Like,
No, I mean, he's just involved in it. It's the local, because Divine is getting, they've got 3 lines going right through them. It's coming right up where I'm at right now. And it's there's 2 south, the blue and the red's further down. But it's hitting, I know they're doing it because Divine is getting hit hard, real hard.
When is it?
It is Wednesday, May 13th, 6:30 PM and 7:30 PM. At the Design VFW Post, 211 West College Avenue, Trine, Texas. It says Howard-Solstice Powerline Project Quorum hosted by Brandon Herrera. And I texted you the screenshot, Judge Houston.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Can you repeat those times?
6:30 to 7:30 PM.
Thank you.
All right.
I would like to say,
Yes,
Judge,
sir.
I think this is pretty good. Everybody bringing stuff up because it brings good things in it. Judge Shahan brought up a good point with that it breaks land apart. I went to the Nunley's ranch the other day. If you know their ranches, they're pretty humongous, and it just geographically tears those places apart. And if it doesn't go through them, the other one's going through the Shooties. And if you know the Shooty ranch, that's an old ranch in Savannah. And it's a old ranch, and it's to see that big thing get over that place. It's 120 years old, that Shooty ranch. And one of them brought up a good point about maybe we could put this in the policy is historical artifacts, arrowheads and ancient clay vases and things like that of that nature. There's all kinds of that stuff down south 187 Savannah. There's
Like I said earlier, looking at policy that ERAP did, it's quite lengthy.
Okay.
They go through a lot of different things. A lot of these things you can just take out Stephenville, put in Kenny County, it'll take out Gary, and it would apply to us. But there's also things that they don't have that we do. I think that's gonna be our main building block is all of our basic gripes, complaints that have to be addressed are in this policy. So that's why it's a living document. We keep adding to it. And, you know, having meetings like this, we'll have 10 different things to add. I mean, it's gonna be one of those projects that we continue to work on.
Yes, ma'am.
Can, our only point of sharing documents isn't online. Is there an email that could be set up for certain research reports that they could be sent to from anywhere? So we would have access to more information than just from those that attend. Or think that they have that.
Point of contact.
Point of contact for people to email stuff to.
Could it be you, Chairman?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would think just to use my county.judge at co.kenny.tx, my county, the one that's on the county webpage for me, my county. It's just county.judge at co.kinney.tx.us. Did I say all that right, Vic?
and if you want, Judge, they can use my city email too, just to relieve some of the pressure of your email.
It probably does need to be split between y'all, because it's gonna be a lot once it gets out there that people can, of course, you're gonna get those events, but it'd be really nice to have as a resource.
Okay.
And I feel like we'll just, whatever I get, let's say Ms. Perry sends me something, I can forward to the rest of the team, and whatever you get.
Ms. Davis has.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Alberti, things, and y'all said they're separate from Kenny County, but we all through the years have had numerous pilots from the base tell us that the Davis airstrip out here on the ranch is called the Davis Hold, because when they can't get in, they're told to go to the Davis Hold, and we see those jets over the ranch all the time. So I would think that we have a common ground there. My other question is, are we just working towards stopping it from coming through here, and we're gonna kick it over on somebody else, or is anybody just trying to stop it completely? And my third thing was, I just met a man that works on guardrail on the highways, and we were talking about this issue, like stuff never ends, and he said, I have been working on the ground under those lines, and he said, you almost feel your skin crawling when you're under it, and he said when it's wet, you can really feel an issue skin-wise. And so I know medical things are, but I feel like he would testify if he needed me to.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, the initial intent of the 391 was to stop the project. Okay, there's so much legislative push for this. We may not be able to get it stopped, but we may be able to slow it down and get some more answers. Maybe have the line reduced, maybe have some of those local centralized plants constructed in a more reasonable area where they can generate electricity for this region, this 20 or 30 miles right here, or something like that, and do pockets like that. But that's, yes, the initial, the legislative set up years ago and made this available through the government entities and agencies and stuff. The intent is, yes, to stop it. Now, if we can't stop it, how can we address it to where if we get our questions and our concerns addressed and answered and fact checked and supported, then we've done all we can.
And the law is set up in a way where the 391 commissions are here to address things within our sub-region. You know, there might be issues that would be great for an argument that's in Stephenville, but we can't technically use those arguments for our sub-region if they're not present here. And so in a way, we're trying to stop it, but we can only do those issues that exist within our sub-region, if that makes sense.
I wish there was some way we could not just kick it off on Sunday.
Yeah, and Margaret, you might expand on that, but that's my understanding.
Yeah, no, you guys are exactly right. And so to really all that this commission can do is deal with the impacts in your jurisdiction, as like Brent said. However, if you're successful here in stopping this piece, the bigger picture is there are other 391s on the other lines also working to do the same thing. They're 100% focused on the impacts in their jurisdiction. And so with enough of the 391s in place, when they really start bringing all these impacts to the surface, that has the combined effort of stopping the entire project. But additionally, our organization, American Stewards of Liberty, has intervened in the PUC process on all 5 statements. But we are not intervening for the purpose of moving a line onto a neighbor. That's not our argument at all. Our argument is these lines are not needed. They have not justified it, and they have not complied with the law, the state law, on how they feel about putting these in place. So because of our stance, we're able to make those larger arguments inside the PUC process that the landowner may not be able to make. So we are trying to, from our perspective, American Stewards perspective, our goal is to stop the entire project. So we do have kind of that bigger strategy that we're but for the purposes of this commission, how you really help us in that larger goal is take care of your community and make sure that the issues here rise to the level that they need to rise to in order to make sure that they're not coming to your jurisdiction because it's not compatible here.
Does anybody know if we're on the radar of AEP or CPS as far as the 391 commission? Has anybody got any feedback that, hey, there's a 391 that's going to oppose us?
ERAF and Somerville would probably be ahead of us on that.
They're ahead of us down there. They're further in the timeline. And I guess, who was the company, the power company? Encore.
Encore.
And so they're fully aware of the 391 in ERAF County. And it's.
Okay, they know y'all, they may not know, but I promise you, they know.
CPS and AEP know, you feel like they know we're around.
Yeah. AEP probably not paying much attention to you, but CPS will, because AEP won't start to the other side of the Devil's River. So CPS will be who you'll be dealing with on that page of the line. But I would bet money right now. That's not hard.
But there hadn't been any chatter. They haven't had any. They're not talking about it, I guess, this time.
CPS reached out to me. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was an attorney or something in the CPS deal. And I refused to talk to him because I didn't want to jeopardize our 391. And I told him, I'm a member of a 391 and I'm not going to visit with you regarding the line. He said, okay. Yes, sir.
I've got a brother in Parker County that has one of those big power lines on it, because it's like, he had to get rid of his house, because they wouldn't have made it. They wouldn't have it.
Okay.
What's that gonna do to the wildlife around here?
If you don't mind, could you get more details from your brother on just kind of how they just wouldn't calve, or they're stillborn, or?
Well, I guess they aborted it. He had a bull on him, but he wasn't getting any calves. He got rid of his cow.
Maybe you should check the book.
That's it, Sheriff, go.
Quick question. You're bringing up aircraft. Within the town, we don't have a town airport. We've got at least 8 to 10 private airfields. I think we need to reach out to those people and get them involved. Because if those power lines are disrupting any type of aircraft radio, bingo. We got at least 8 to 10 private runways within the county. And Tully's got a 747 circling right now for his.
Yes, ma'am.
And are they going through the country so that they don't go over the city so that they don't have?
I think economically, the route here, looking at it economically, the route that they've picked would be
It's
less expensive because of the values of our properties here versus along I-10 or up through that neck of the woods. Hold on then. But from a business standpoint, I think this is the route. Now, I would say that the Hill Country Preservation Group and the Devil's River Group, they got together early on and they came out with a proposed route. And their route was pretty well followed by this recommended route 4. Kind of missed the Edwards Aquifer. That's why I kind of shot out the west side of Bear County across Medina, Atascosa, Medina County, Uvalde, then it transitioned up to our county to start the northward trend to try to get. But they asked for it to go further north. There's a Route 9, a little bit further north than Route 4, and they wanted to get it closer up to I-10. And their proposal, when they were doing their little study, they're opposed to it, but hey, let's look at this and see where it's the least, most harm to be done if we're gonna do this. And it didn't. It dropped it back down into where it just went across the northern end of Alberta County, then it stretched out and kind of went northwest towards Fort Stockton. So those two groups got together early on. You got to looking at all the routes that were in the spaghetti bowl, and then of course when it came out, so about half the route that's being proposed right down to the pub is kind of within their recommendations of what they were asking for as well. But I think economics, a straight line, there's a line already runs along I-10. And from my understanding, they're going to take this reliable energy from burning coal out to West Texas and then bring back in wind and solar electricity down the old line because it's not as reliable enough for what they need out there on a daily basis for the oil field, Permian Basin stuff and so forth, and the data centers that they're proposing to be out there. Now, most of the data centers out there, my understanding is to have their own small nuclear facility to generate a lot of their own electricity. They'll have to have some electricity off the grid, but not to the extent of everyday full force. They'll generate most of their own electricity at the data centers. But this line is just simply go straight from South Bear County to just west of Fort Stockton. There'd be no lines off of it. Now, there is some talk about these connector lines, and there has been no talk about that as far as anything from AEP or CPS about connector lines. And I'm like, you got to explain that to me a little bit better situation, because I'm not catching on here. And some of the guys I've talked to and other judges are like, well, it's like, I got a well over here and I got a well over here, and together they're tied together through my water system. But this one is my best well, so it stays going most of the time. But when I have trouble here, I can close the valve, open this valve, and this well will supply my water around to my livestock on a temporary basis. Same thing with the transmission line, the connector lines. If they're having an issue somewhere, they can turn it, send it across over here, then back around back into the line and skip a point in there or something like that. So that's how that was explained to me, and that has not been talked about or discussed. And I don't know if the Byfields have any information on that, but none of that's being discussed and stuff. And then of course, we all understand ERCOT is not, and it's been talked about, we're not creating more energy to be used. We're just rerouting reliable energy and to subsidize what they can't get off their solar and things. I think in about 15 years, after I'm out of being a judge and so forth, they'll probably build a big gas plant in West Texas where there's lots of natural gas, and they'll burn it out there and make electricity, and then they'll pipe it back down these lines back over into that core area of Texas we were talking about earlier, that central part of Texas. That's what I think. But why they haven't addressed it and started building something now in more regional areas to not have to put up these lines and so forth, a little disheartening and frustrating. But that's the way I see that this is going to get. If this goes forth and gets done in 15 years, they'll be rerouting it back this way. Yes, ma'am.
But what you just said make too much common sense. You don't get much down up there in Austin.
Yes, ma'am.
I was trying to map it out because I was, like I said, I'm in 3 different counties, so I was looking. I noticed when I was following around the CPL, line, they're going around pivots.
Yes.
They did cut through somebody's pivot. I saw them take one little piece of it, but, because we just recently had sold our farm, and they were going right through my driveway, which was my original concern. I did go as an intervener, but I had to back off because they moved it, and so I have the blue and the red right below me, like 2.5 miles. My concern was I have the defibrillator and a pacemaker both, because I'm in heart failure. So that was my intervener, that I was gonna have to cross under it just to get out of my driveway. But I was trying to trace the path so I could show the people in Dehennis, this is what's gonna happen, because nobody wants to listen to me. When I bring this up, people don't know about this. And, that's what I noticed, that they were avoiding the pivots.
They say that the water from the pivots causes a harm,
But that.
causes them
Like
corrosion and
everybody
destruction of their.
Everybody drilled and put in pivots, because it was going around all the pivots, except for one person. That was from, like, I was looking from Divine all the way to Uvalde Estates.
That goes right across the feedlot.
Goes right adjacent to the
Feedlot.
feedlot, yeah, pretty close. Chaparral feed yards on Highway 140.
And they
are.
avoid the Vulcan mines. Like it's gonna cross Highway 90 just to the west of the new checkpoint, the big checkpoint out here. So they get close to the mines and then they turn and go north back across the highway and then come back.
It's gonna be 2.5 miles.
Well, I was right there at Klein.
Right there at Klein. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a clarification. You talked about this earlier. I didn't know if it was decided or if it was a suggestion that these meetings will live alongside the respective county commissioners' websites so we can get notices, agendas.
It'll be on our county webpage. When we post a meeting, just like a regular commissioners court meeting, they'll be on our any county webpage.
They're supposed to be on ours too, right?
It wasn't when I checked. I had to go down to the courthouse to get the agenda. Mayor Gomez.
Send it up there to, I've got the email where they were asked to put it on I'll follow up if it's.
Okay, it might have gotten posted after I went, but Mayor Gomez announced it on Facebook. But I went down to the courthouse just to see the notice for myself. Because I didn't think
Physically, it's posted 2 places.
yes, it was.
You could talk to City of Uvalde too, see if they could do that on the city website, City of Uvalde website. Sure. City Facebook.
They had it at City Hall in Uvalde as well.
They posted that 7 on.
Physical, not on the website.
Right, on their bulletin boards in the hallways and outside the building.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Something that hasn't been brought up, but we're on the butterfly migration trail. And we're also on a bunch of like hummingbirds, those kinds of things, those migration trails with the birds and stuff. We talked about wildlife, but the migration might be another thing. Can't really know.
Coach Mark, you said what else? Butterfly.
I know we have hummingbird trails around the butterflies, like just our ranch, but I don't know about everybody else, but they're coming for purple markets, right? Kathy Baker would be the one.
Thank you, Coach.
But just something else, I don't know.
Anything you see, you might email to the judge on information you find online about the areas of migration, because if you don't, we will. We'll have to do it eventually.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned earlier that whatever they did to come off the line, okay, that's a mile and a half. How far does it go down? They're going to get into the aquifer and mess it up. They're going,
My point was there have never been any studies to determine that. And I believe there should be.
But it sounds like that had been done, could solve a lot. We asked the right, we asked the right question, there is no answer.
Right. And testimony from one of the experts in the dinosaur to longshore, she said some of the pilings for the towers could go down as deep as 150 feet into the ground through our forest, aquifer, recharge, limestone base. 150 feet.
That brings up I've thought about this as like coordination of where each of these holes is dug. And then if it's supposed to take 90 yards of cement for their structure, and it's gonna be 4 of these holes per tower. Okay, you go out there and it's a self-reporting deal, so this is where we're in a little gray, but you come back to us and say, these, 90% of our holes took the 100, so we give them 10%. Took somewhere that 90 to 110% of cement, but we have some holes that took 140, 180 yards of cement. Where did all that go? What did we just plug? What did we just mess up? I mean, the hole drilled out and poured out just fine. But when we got the poured cement down in there with the structure, all of a sudden it just bled out somewhere. It went into something. And what, so that's, I thought about that as like, how do we know, like, we cased that and we held that intact inside down in there 50, 60 feet deep, however deep they go, kind of deal.
It might be helpful to try to find some studies out of South Carolina that I think Mr. McLaughlin was saying South Carolina and either Washington State or Oregon have these same lines. If they've done studies, if they've already been down this road and done studies for those, it would definitely help us with these.
Based on their proximity to the coast, both of those states, they're probably not far off over, they're probably down.
I'm saying for anything, any type of issue.
Okay. Commission, anybody else? Wrap this up and then wrap it up, but let's look at our calendars. Look at your calendars. And to post our workshops just like we would our regular meetings. LOB. Now, I understand that in a workshop, there'd be no action items. It'd just simply be we come and like we've been doing here for about the last hour, just table talk conversation, writing some things down. If you don't mind, do a little bit of that research and do a little bit of homework and send that information to us or point us in the right direction and so forth like that. But if we had a workshop, Becky, are you looking at the calendar? Today is the 11th.
We're looking at a month from now, Judge. Or Chairman.
No, not that long. Yeah, not that long. If we had one, if we could post just a workshop for table discussion and concerns to help us work on policy and planning, or policy more so than planning and strategy. If we posted it tomorrow, if we got it out by tomorrow afternoon, that would put us again basically to this Monday or Tuesday again to meet our 3-day requirement. Does Monday or Tuesday work for any of y'all?
Either day will work for myself.
Next week,
I'll
Monday.
make it either day.
Tuesday looks like it works better for me.
Okay.
I got a next Tuesday.
Yeah, the 19th.
I won't be available. We gotta put something with our project there.
That's not that, okay. But if we had one, could we have one Tuesday in at the courthouse in New Valley?
May I point out, May 19th, which is Tuesday, is the first day of interveners' main event. The
In
hearing.
Austin.
No, yeah,
Austin.
the hearing on the merits.
Okay.
So for us to be able to attend, it would have to be after 5 o'clock. preferably 6.
That's the 19th through the 22nd, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All of those dates?
And we're gonna be really busy leading up to that, but I would certainly do my best to come to the workshop. I just wanted you to know
No,
that
that's a good point. That's
that
good.
the 19th is the start of our main event.
We didn't have it after those days, because I would be willing to bet most people driving to Austin are not gonna be able to show up until after these hearings are over.
Most people are attending remotely, but that's a valid point.
And Monday's the,
Information from listening to that to come, we get a lot of information from listening to the interveners to come back and then, share with us to come up with stuff.
You're suggesting having it afterwards, Scott?
yeah,
I agree with her.
22nd. I'm
We'll
sorry.
be able to glean a lot of information through the hearing that we can present to y'all.
I have a couple of things, the caves and the Indian burial sites. I just throw them. Are they all known? We just might have some letters with Indian things. They did. They
So-
should pay attention to.
Tuesday, the 26th, I have commissioners court that morning. Y'all want to try to have.
Monday's Memorial, Day, so
Monday's-
that's out.
Yeah.
26 is election day.
Yeah, it's runoff. Election day.
Not that that
That-
makes a difference, but it,
I mean, you want only people from voting. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, they're
Erath County has their hearing on the 27th, so Byfield's not likely to be available.
what about Thursday, the 28th? Does that work with anybody?
Thursday, the 28th is good for me, except from about noon till about 3 o'clock.
I'm sorry?
Noon or 3's out for him on the 28th. I mean, we don't all have to be at the workshop, but just if
I think it's good if we can.
If we can.
Judge, if you do that, you're gonna have to post it because you're not there.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to I want to hold true to that status that we keep posting it, just like we do our regular meetings, even though there'll be no action items. It's just simply for intake and input and stuff, but we can all be there without hurting quorum issue and so forth, posting of a meeting. But we call it a workshop.
You propose an afternoon, an evening?
Yeah, that's similar time Thursday, this as at around 4, Thursday, 28th.
That's what I say.
Y'all are the ones that do, especially.
Tom, you want to have it city hall this time?
Sure.
You want to have it city hall this time?
Could check that out.
I'm just saying, I mean,
I'm wondering how big of a room we're gonna need.
it's a good question.
City council room's very small and so is.
County court, it's pretty small.
You want to have a civic center, one of those rooms, civic center, there's contact all people. Or others.
We had an event in Pecan back in 21. It was really good spot.
Yeah, you have better.
And are we talking about in modality?
Yes, ma'am. This one. And then
What you're talking about now?
yes, ma'am. Yeah, try to have one in your valley, then try to have one here. And then if you turn around and have one in maybe Sabinow. So I'm just try to move back and forth to each little location for the workshops. And then our next regular meeting, there's probably no reason for us to meet before that workshop meeting.
So we want to start at 4 or 5. I mean, if people are
Yeah,
coming after work, why don't we just pick 5? Is that?
sure, good with that.
Mr. Byfield, Ms. Byfield, is Thursday, 28th at 5 work for y'all?
Does the pecan room have technology available?
I believe so. I think so.
I'll check. What kind of technology do you need?
I don't know. I just know that's a question.
I think, of course, we're all on the technology.
I'm sorry, Mayor, for asking that question.
I can enjoy it, but 28th, I'm here with, Homeland Security, and I'll just do that day.
Would 5 work okay later in the day?
If we do it in the morning, I should be able to get here. If you're in touch in the morning, I should be able to get back to you out here. I can do a Zoom with you if need be.
What are you doing with Homeland Security? Done? Are you voting on something?
So May Thursday, the 28th at 5 o'clock in Uvalde.
At the pecan room,
Well,
tentatively.
what is that? Do we get to use it for free?
I don't know how that works.
You got a city council member there, he lets you use it, he gets so many ratings.
Dang, Will. He said you can get it, you can pull that off free.
What are you drinking?
All right, so Thursday, the 28th at 5 o'clock in Uvalde Con Room.
I'll confirm that, Judge.
Okay, all right. Mr. Mims will get that confirmed. Let's go ahead and set another one. Okay. What about like,
You have to say Fairflex. You
Well,
didn't
think
say
about-
Fairflex, you said con room is at the Fairflex.
what is?
Civic Center.
Civic
Center.
Oh, the Civic Center.
Yeah, the community center, yeah, the Civic Center in town.
We have a big crowd, it's easy parking. I think it's better than the courthouse.
Much better.
Oh, yeah,
It's just better.
okay, you're right.
All right, so we're doing another meeting.
Let's turn right around and have, you want to have another one like Tuesday, June the 2nd?
I'm good in the evening.
And then from there, we can then work on trying to have
You think that's too quick after the 28th, of June the 2nd?
nah, not for these residents over here.
We're gonna have it over here?
Yeah, that's what I say.
Okay.
On June the 2nd, let's have it over here in Kenny County. You want to do 5 o'clock again?
It's up to you.
That works for me. Which,
Okay, 5 o'clock?
if you're interested.
5 o'clock? Bracketville. Yes, sir. We'll have it right here, the same right here. Yeah. Same room. On June the 2nd, we'll have one at 5 o'clock. These are workshops, workshops. We're just trying to get them to where we can get them posted. And then would you like to have a meeting?
Yeah.
It's at 5 on June the 2nd.
Yes, sir. Or Mayor, would you like to have one in 7 now then? Or you okay with?
Well, I'm coming back here.
Okay.
I'm coming back.
Okay. Well, then I think, probably turn around and have our follow-up meeting, maybe Monday, June the 8th, to start working on policies and stuff like that that give us about a week to gather our thoughts and stuff
I have a city council meeting that day.
on the 8th. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That may be a little quick to gather thoughts and write policy.
Well, we just gotta get it, start drafting it. We're not
We'll,
gonna,
we'll have it started, I think, before then.
Okay.
We have a pretty decent blueprint, for some bare bones.
from ERAC,
The 10th?
Wednesday, June the 10th.
Works for me.
All right, we'll do
Where-
Wednesday, June the 10th. At, you wanna do it in, Uvalde or Mary, you wanna do it in 7 now?
On June the 10th, I might be leaving a day early to Houston
Okay,
convention.
let's
You gonna do it
do
on the 9th?
The 9th works for me.
Tuesday the 9th. Okay, but the 9th in the evening, we're okay, probably. We'll keep them in the evening.
I have city council on the night
You do?
in the evening.
Okay. Well, Mims, I mean, we're just,
I don't have to be here.
yeah, we're just scheduling a workshop.
No, that's.
No, this won't be-
No, this is meeting, this is meeting.
Oh, it's meeting.
Yeah, meeting. Workshops are May the 28th and
Mhm.
June the 2nd. Trying to have a meeting.
How about June the 10th during the day?
I could probably swing that. But I couldn't guarantee a full house of people in Saginaw, just because there's.
It's more of a meeting, so we may not.
Okay.
The people for the workshops maybe,
Yeah.
not that we don't want them for the meetings, but they're,
Yeah,
We're gonna be taking the workshop information.
I could swing during the day on Wednesday,
Wednesday,
the 10th, yes, sir.
the 10th.
What time's good?
Even in the morning, I could even do a morning, like a 10 a.m. one or.
All right, you want to do 10th, June the 10th on a Wednesday
Yes, sir.
at 10 o'clock
It's out front.
in Sabino?
Yes, sir. City Hall.
Okay, City Hall. And that'll be for a meeting.
Yes, sir.
Byfields, just Wednesday, June the 10th at 10 o'clock for a regular meeting, work for y'all?
Yes. I'm trying to read it down to it.
Okay.
He's sick, so, you know.
Yeah.
Advantage, right?
And Mary, do y'all have the, like, if then Byfields would like to join us via Zoom,
Yes, sir.
we have that ability?
We have that technology available.
Okay. Workshops and stuff, if you'd like to join us, yes, if, I don't know if it's really necessary, if we take what ERAF and Somerville has already done and kind of start working through that policy and making it, fit more of our area. It's our cog per se, but Thursday, May 28th at 5 o'clock in Uvalde, Valley, looking at getting the con room. Mr. Mims will check on that for a workshop. Tuesday, June the 2nd at 5 o'clock in Bracketville here at the courthouse for a workshop. But then a posted meeting. We'll post all these just like a meeting, but our regular meeting will be Wednesday the 10th at 10 o'clock at 7 out City Hall in the morning, Wednesday morning. All right. Everybody okay with that right now on your calendars? Best you know. So we'll go ahead and I don't see why we can't go ahead and post the Thursday and Tuesday meetings at the same time, the workshops, just so people know.
I can post them earlier than 3 days.
Yeah, that's not, yeah, right.
That's a good point.
But post them together and just make note that the
Can you post
location,
2 meetings with 1 notice?
I would say 2 different notes.
2 different notices. Okay.
Let me confirm the Uvalde workshop.
First.
The location.
Yes, sir. Okay,
I can get back with you tomorrow.
that'll work. Just email Becky or and the commission, just say, hey, confirm pecan rooms available for Thursday, May 28th at 5 o'clock. And if it's not, then we'll default Mr. Copeland and maybe try to have it at just its courthouse.
Okay.
Whoever's in charge of security, unlocking the door. and
Yeah,
taking
that's
care
what
of
I
that.
don't,
That's,
I just don't know how that works. but-
I bet you my door's already locked downstairs.
What about the Fairplex? Does it have a meeting room out there?
They have a couple of little breakout rooms yesterday.
As a backup?
That may be, I find out what you can find out and I'll talk to Wendy.
Right.
So,
And wait, and about the meeting on Sabino, if it's, I'm looking at our calendar.
I
It
don't
says
think we have technology out there though.
Oh.
Zoom at Fairplex.
before we bang off that it's at City Hall, we might have to have a different facility, but I'll let you know as soon as I can tomorrow.
But you have somewhere in Savannah, you could host it.
Definitely.
That's the main thing.
Definitely.
Okay. And when, like I say, these are far enough out. We're just trying to get footprint and where some dates on the calendar where we can start with our planning and our workshops and then follow up with a regular meeting. Okay, so tentatively, we're looking at the 28th, the 2nd, and the 10th. 5 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. All right. Anything else? Any other items? So we plan on being on the 28th. We'll plan on having a workshop in Uvalde. On the 2nd, we'll plan on having a workshop here in Bracketville, both at 5 o'clock in the evening. And then a regular meeting back on June the 10th at 10 o'clock in the morning in Savannah, tentatively City Hall. But the mayor will get back with us on exact, it's verified, confirm that for us. All right. No actions are taken, no executive session for today's meeting. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Also move, Chairman.
Okay. Second by Mr. Mims. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried, man. All right, so the only action items, there was no action here, no action there. Oh yeah, we did set a date
Hopefully we'll get this
for
rolling.
June 10th.
Run.